one of the few things standing between you and your weekend. But in full transparency, you're the last thing standing between me and a week-long vacation in sun with a lot of college basketball. So let's work together here. I'll try to be mildly entertaining, sometimes amusing. You just fake interest, give me a laugh, courtesy laugh or two, and it'll be over before you know it. I'm from Bespoke Post. Let's see if this works. There we go, Bespoke Post. For those of you who haven't heard about us, we're a subscription e-commerce site for guys. I know that's not too descriptive, so I go a little more detail. Basically, what we have our buyers go out and try to find the coolest products out there and create these themed experiences. So what we actually call it is a box of awesome, kind of tongue-in-cheek. I like to say that our goal is to turn our members into the most interesting man in the world, one box at a time, which is why in all our early pitch decks, this guy would appear. He still kind of appears there. So what's in a box of awesome? A couple things: drink, outdoor, apparel, food, grooming, throwing knives. I don't know what category that fits into, but it was a fun day of product testing at the office. All boxes are $45, and ours is an opt-out model, which is just important for context, so we don't automatically send you something each month. On the first of the month, we tell you, this is the box you're gonna get, and you have 5 days to opt out or not. And so I said $45, amazing boxes. This is the end of the sales pitch, but that was all important context for what I'm about to talk about. And what I'm talking about is this: improving conversion and LTV by adding steps to checkout. I actually wanted to go kind of, and it was relevant from an earlier speaker, more BuzzFeedy with the headline, so I considered some other things. Let me just throw them out there for you. 6 things you can do to check out to make the co-founders give you more equity. Consider, we asked subscribers for their shoe size, and here's what happened next. More topical, Donald Trump told us what he thought about our checkout flow. You won't believe what he said. We ended up settling on improving conversion and LTV by adding steps to checkout. A little more straightforward, still a little intriguing. So I want to begin with a quick story. I was having coffee with another subscription box company. I often like to knowledge share with other companies. My team knows this. In fact, a quick raise of hands, who here regularly talks with other companies just to talk shop and share ideas? All right, it is the most valuable thing I do. So if you take one thing away from the next half hour, I really urge you to do that. I come to conferences not to hear schlubs like me talk, but more to make connections with other people and ask things. So anyway, we're talking, and mostly what we're talking about is this guy, but not Mark specifically, but Facebook as a whole, because Facebook is what a lot of us, our DTC and subscription brands have been on the backs of when they figured out how to do effective targeting to their massive audience. It was a boon to our company for sure, and the industry as a whole. In fact, as a quick side note, we were advertising on Facebook before it actually worked well. So I'm talking back late 2012, Bespoke Post. I was advertising on Facebook, and it just wasn't working. And there was a specific announcement and launch, lookalike audiences. And that was a massive turning point for, I think, many brands out there, including ours. And we just started spending efficiently and growing really quickly. And I remember turning to the co-founders and literally saying, we have to buy Facebook stock now. I said that there. I didn't buy Facebook stock. Literally had insider information that was legal, and I didn't take advantage of it. So anyway, back to our coffee conversation. But one thing that we weren't quite doing as effectively as other brands is we weren't able to scale our spend as much because our spend wasn't as efficient. So we're talking to this other subscription brand, and they were scaling much faster than us. So I was asking them, like, why could this be? So what are your CPMs? And he shared them with me, and I said, okay, those are similar. What are your click-through rates? And he shared them with me. I was like, okay, ours are actually better than that. How about your conversion rates? And he told me, and I did this. We had tried creating custom landing pages before, but they weren't that effective, so we ended up just sending traffic to our homepage. And we kind of defaulted for that until that conversation. And just to give you an idea of what the homepage looked back then, yes, we used to be a gated site where we forced email capture. You can boo me now if you'd like. And actually, that's me in the photo right there. So my lower half of my body has gotten millions and millions of page views, which I remind my wife of all the time. So once you go through and actually give us your email address, you come to a page somewhat like this. And it was our homepage, not a specific landing page. And so we were fine with that until I had this conversation, and I literally rushed back to the office. I was like, hey, the reason why I'm not being able to spend your money efficiently, co-founders, is because our conversion rate is horrible. And so we decided right then and there we're gonna make a wholesale change, not to the homepage, but to the landing destination. So we decided to make 3 massive changes. So first, and all these were with the goal of removing friction. So first, before, we had on the homepage 3 basic levels of navigation. So you'd land on the homepage, which talked about the club, but then we'd have boxes where you could go and see all our available boxes, and product pages you can click into, and those boxes you could buy one off. Then we had the shop. We have an e-commerce store. 8 categories, hundreds and hundreds of amazing products because our buyers are awesome. Another pitch, sorry. And then gift cards. So you come to the site, and maybe it's Uncle Charlie's birthday next week, and all of a sudden you go down the gift card route, and you're not focused on the conversion. So we decided, okay, in this new landing page, we're going to do this. Solely focused on subscription. How it works, how the subscription works. Pricing, how the subscription is priced. FAQ, about the subscription program. So we did that. Number 2, let me take a water sip. We didn't let people look at the available boxes on site. We have lots of boxes. They're all really cool. And you could go down and even buy them one off. So in the new site, landing page, we removed that. We gave you a taste of the boxes. We showed you the name, a quick description. You couldn't click into it. The only way to get access to the boxes that were available in the moment was by signing up. And then last but not least, we stopped charging up front. So we used to charge $45, no matter if you're getting a box right off the bat. And that cost would go towards your first box whenever you'd get it. But obviously that was a bit of a hurdle, so removing that allowed us to say this on the site. Guess what? Tails all the time. People love the word free. And those 3 changes together allowed us to do this. Massive. Now, grain of salt, because our conversion rate sucked before, pardon my French, but it was a massive, in fact, I had video from when we first saw the first results come in. I'm going to play that for you right now. This is me and the co-founders looking at those results. But in looking at the results, we also saw this, which makes sense because we went from making our subscribers run the equivalent of like a Tough Mudder to subscribe to basically saying this. So we did the math, and obviously 400% improvement in conversion, 20% drop in purchase rate, we'll take it. So getting back to the topic of today, which by the way I wanted to title this, but again, we went with this, and I realized I'm like 10 minutes into this talk and 30 plus slides, and I haven't mentioned checkout yet, so let's get back to the coffee chat. So we're talking about conversion rates, and at this point we probably moved to the bar and had started having some beers, and we started talking about each other's checkout flows. We're a hit at parties, let me say. And so we're talking about checkout flows, and our checkout is pretty standard, or was pretty standard. You got your account, you got your shipping, you got your billing. One thing that our friends over at Bombfell, and many clothing subscription companies do this is their first step of checkout. It's a full questionnaire asking about sizing. This is obviously very relevant information for them, but what they're doing a little differently, and what other clothing companies, subscription companies figured out, is that they didn't wait for you to sign up to do this. They actually did it earlier on. And so we had something similar, but it was kind of buried in our account page, and we asked different questions. So at this conversation, we decided to change the questions and bring it up a little bit, but still after checkout. But that was still a little buried. And so checkout flow as it was then, account, shipping, billing, and then after conversion, we had the questionnaire. We said, okay, let's introduce a little friction to the equation and copy, take a little page out of the playbook of our subscription, clothing subscription brother and sisters, and just flip it. So we did a little test, and we flipped, and we put this questionnaire, 10 questions, asking you how interested you're in different product categories. The result, an actual increase in conversion rate, 40%. And that was me. But again, another metric kind of went down. We saw a 20% decrease in lapse rate. Because we were capturing all these people who were just like intrigued, I guess, by the questionnaire, like, oh, this is kind of cool, I just want to see this through. Again, we did the math, and it worked out. So this is our first iteration. And so we said, okay, we like the conversion rate improvement. What can we do for this lapse rate? How can we improve that? So we looked at another brand that does this really well, Care of, for those of you that are familiar with it. Their questionnaire is amazing. It's fun, it's interactive, you feel like you're actually talking to someone. They use great use of animations and emoticons, and it's really long. They say only about 5 minutes. I think it can take longer than that, but imagine talking to someone in your org and telling them, by the way, checkout's gonna be 5 minutes. Okay, talk to you later. It would create panic. But they seem to be on something. So we decided, okay, so what can we do with our questionnaire? And we said, okay, so we added one page that had 10 questions on the same page. We're like, let's make a little minor change. Let's turn that into a 15+ page questionnaire that had even additional more questions than we had originally. Because if you told us you like clothing and apparel, we asked you all the sizing questions. If you told us you were interested in cigars, tobacco, alcohol products, we asked you your age. And so we're doing this with the intention of hopefully improving lapse rates, which we did. Actually, a nice bump, 13.5%. They were just a more committed person going through that flow. However, what surprised us, we saw another 6.5% improvement in conversion rates. At this point, we're getting a little more cool, calm, and collected about our results, and so this is more like us at that point. But it hasn't been all good news throughout. So I've been taking you on a 3-year journey, by the way, that we're kind of speeding through in 20 minutes. But we realized after a while, and this is kind of more recent times now, that we were getting really good at funneling people to checkout. So actually our funnel completion rates were dropping over time. Our whole conversion rate was pretty steady, but our funnel completion rates were dropping over time. So again, we're thinking, how can we experiment with this idea of friction? Because every time we'd added friction, after some iterations, we saw positive results. So what we've done kind of recently, we still have our 15-page plus 15-question questionnaire. And we decided to add an intro screen. So we're seeing a lot of people were just getting to the site, clicking on get started, and had no context. So this allows us to give a little context. Here's an image that has the type of products you might use. It has a box in it, so at least if you don't even know we're a subscription company, you may be like, oh, they're a subscription company. We also tell you you're about to take a quiz, which before we wouldn't always do. So some context there. Then we found an excuse to put a cool image of knives in our checkout flow. But more importantly, we also had the message of preferences saved, relationship building. Look, we're storing these things you told us about, and we're going to use it. Not only that, we're going to ask you more things over time and use that as well. So results, we actually saw a 3% decrease in conversion rate. Apparently, you can't infinitely add stuff to your checkout flow and see conversions go up. Shocker. But we saw a slight increase in lapse rate. At this point, we were thinking it's a wash. But then we saw this, 11% increase in purchase rates off the initial first box assignment. We were not expecting that. And so something about these new steps is helping conversion rates, purchase rates, I'm sorry. And do you think we really stopped there? No, we're trying reviews right now. So far not working. We'll keep trying, guys. So there's other parts we can put. We know we'll make it work. All metrics went in the opposite direction with the reviews in there versus not. Those are the numbers for that. Also, last but not least, the biggest boon to lifetime value, which I've held to now, is actually having the data from this questionnaire. Because we launch 15 to 20 new boxes a month, and we have to assign those to all our subscribers. So knowing what everyone is interested in is helped purchase rates steadily climb over time. Even as we're expanding our spend and getting a less valuable customer in there, purchase rates have stayed up. And then also, the more we know about you, the better the box we assign you, the more likely you're going to stay with us. Also, it's a great diagnostic tool. At the end of last year, we were seeing our lapse rates slowly creep up, and we had no idea why. And so then we pulled the numbers from our survey. And so this is a bunch of lines, but it's the number of people who answered they're very interested in a specific category in that questionnaire. So I've only highlighted 2 of the lines because they're the relevant ones. Over 6 quarters, people who said they're interested in camping and outdoors and music and tech and gear were steadily increasing. And we had no idea that was happening, and part of the reason was this guy again, because on Facebook we were running ads that had camping and outdoors and tech gear. So we were attracting a certain type of consumer coming to our page, and the mix of our subscriber base was changing. But the problem was, when you signed up, we don't have good boxes, or didn't have good boxes, upon sign up for these people. So they'd come to the site, sign up, not get the payoff from the ad they saw back in Facebook or Instagram or around the web. They're like, oh, not for me, and they'd cancel. So now we're talking to the buying team, and they're making sure we have outdoors and music and tech gear boxes ready for a new subscriber. Yay, data. So, the TLDL. Friction can be good and bad. We found that removing friction from our landing page, getting people to check out, good. But adding friction into the checkout with the right type of friction, very good. Animated GIFs are great. Take a big picture view of your metrics. If we had only been seeing and talking about conversion rates the whole time, we would have been missing the fact that lapse rates were plummeting after some changes, or after that purchase rates were going down. You have to look at the whole picture. Finding what works takes time. Yeah, this looks great. That was 3 years. There was a year in there we didn't touch checkout or the landing page. There was millions of iterations on things that didn't work. Remember, we weren't even doing a landing page for a while because we thought the home page would work better. Promote a testing culture. We've always been a testing culture, which is great because you can keep plugging away and finding stuff. One solution does not fit all. This will not necessarily work for you guys. Putting knives in your checkout will probably not work for you, but you have to find what does. And also, one solution, one fix all. So any solution we implemented had positive effects in one place, negative effects in the other. So it's a kind of combination of ideas that can get you to the end. Things change, keep an eye on metrics. If we hadn't noticed that our funnel completion rate had been going down over time, we would kind of ignored it a bit and maybe not come back to some of the ideas towards the very end, like preferences saved and the such. And last but not least, when in doubt, go with the BuzzFeed title. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvaro. Any questions? Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. It gave me a lot of good information. We have a product that we are also having a site where they can purchase something, and it's subscription or not subscription. So my question is, whenever you got all those results, did you do any testing with either customers or non-customers before you rolled that out to get the results to make the changes, or you just roll it out to customers and get the customer results?
Back at the first part of this presentation, it was kind of just get it out there, but we didn't have a product management or product marketing function within the organization at that point. So the quickest way for us to learn really was just get something out there and see what the results came in. Now we do have more of the organization in place, so we're talking to customers more and doing some of the upfront research. So it's kind of it depends, based on sometimes it's gut, or maybe the co-founder wants to do something and you just got to do it, and other times it's a matter of just get it up there and see what happens.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Experimentation cultures you guys had there. How long did you let these experiments run before you're like, okay, this is a thumbs up, a thumbs down? Because startups, you always throw a gazillion things at the wall and praying that one will stay great. So how do you know when it works and when it doesn't?
We definitely, frequently Google statistical significance calculator and plug some numbers in there and try to make that our North Star, although even articles going around this morning in our Slack about the danger of using that, but that's number one way we look at it. So we don't have like a defined timeline. We try to let it run as long as it takes to get to that, and then see. And sometimes like 90% of tests don't yield any results. So then if we see a net neutral impact, then we'll just think of it like, do we like this? Do we think it's better for the consumer, even if it's not improving results? Does it look nicer? And we take elements like that into account as well.
Hi, I'm curious to know what is the kind of interaction your PM and PMM teams have with the backend teams, given that you also have an inventory to maintain. Is there a pressure to increase more people to check out? And when things are not going like your way, how do you balance the inventory? Does it impact the business?
The two teams are sitting together over there, so that makes it really easy. In terms of, I think the struggle we have more is we have two buying teams. We have the box team that feeds into the subscription program, and we have the e-commerce store team. And so as a company, we've decided that our subscription product is our biggest value and where we get the biggest lifetime value from customers, and it's kind of like the money maker, and so they get a lot of attention, and all these improvements we're making driving towards subscription, not driving towards the e-commerce store. So that's part of the trade-off, but the selling point is that subscribers are the ones who spend the most with us in the e-commerce store. So you're still seeing that impact downstream. It's just we're not focusing from a product standpoint on normal checkout flow we have.
Me? To your point about looking at the bigger picture, how were the results different if you looked at it between web and mobile in terms of consumption, conversion, things like that? And then separately, on the same note, did you take into account towards your tests kind of the improvements or changes in the product that you were mentioning? How were those impacting your conversion rates while you were doing the tests?
So on the first part, I just kind of took an average here. It differed greatly between channel and device. So actually, on traffic coming from Instagram, so largely mobile traffic, the improvement we actually saw in conversion rate was greater than 6x. On organic traffic, who are a little more qualified already, coming on desktop, the impact was more like 2.5x. Still big, but channel definitely mattered. So when we ran these tests, though, our traffic to our site was still 60-40, if not more, desktop. It's only recently that we've had that flip in the last 2 years, and now everything we're doing is mobile first. And then what was your second question?
Then you have to take 30% into account for Apple fee.
Well, luckily we don't have an app, so no, we don't have to.
Oh,
it's all online.
okay.
Yeah, and we have a mobile-friendly site, but not on.
Second question was around still looking at the bigger picture. Were you kind of changing the product and the way, the kind of stuff you were putting inside? And how were you taking that into account towards looking at the results impact?
Yeah, so all the results, so the questionnaire, since a big benefit is that before people didn't have to fill out any sort of questions for us, now every single subscriber that comes to our site must. And so that is informing buying decisions for the Box team. So we see this camping outdoors have increased a lot. So all of a sudden, a category we largely ignored and we thought it was not our core subscriber is now becoming a huge focus for the buying team. And so that's sort of taking that bigger picture and helping feed the data throughout the organization.
Hi, thanks so much for your presentation. I'm curious about the way you described, where am I? Like you mentioned lifetime seemed like maybe as an afterthought or like a cherry on top. So your main goal in reworking checkout was to increase conversion. At my organization, we are just starting to experiment with some post-checkout like surveys to learn more about these to try to bring them back. And I have an idea that we might actually need to be pitting lifetime value of a customer against like just immediate conversions. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Like, are they in opposition with each other or?
So we did talk a lot about that at the beginning. So the only reason why it might seem like that was a focus initially is that we were good on lifetime value. Our pain point was conversion rate. So it became a focus. And then when we had that massive increase in conversion rate, we saw that this person would really drop in lifetime value because type of person.
Right, okay.
And so we talked about that, and the trade-off of just getting that growth, like having people who then can be referrers, and we, with the right mixture, even if it was a slightly positive, we probably maybe would have made the change. It was just the drastic difference. So lifetime value has now become a talking point that we're refocusing on because our conversion rates are fine, but we have to kind of refocus on lifetime value because we've almost made it too frictionless at the top of the funnel. And so that's why we're introducing friction in checkout to make sure we're qualifying people better and getting better users. Because another thing, for us who are very Facebook and Instagram intensive, we're creating basically lookalikes right off that to advertise to. So actually, one concern we have is if we're getting a less quality consumer and then feeding that back into the system, are we getting a less quality person? Like it is vicious cycle.
So you're kind of always having to make sure that there's like some equilibrium.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
In your model, what's the difference between conversion and purchase rate?
Yeah, so you can become a subscriber without, you have to give us your credit card, but without purchasing a box up front. In fact, you could be a subscriber in fact, we found someone who's been a subscriber now for 5 years who's never purchased a box from us. Because we can send you an email each month, and on the first of the month, you get an email, and you can decide, you have 5 days to decide whether you want to purchase it or not. So we have this additional metric that is key to our business. It's like purchase rate is like monthly, essentially opt-out rate is what we call it, is if you're opting out of your box or not, which is different than subscription, which is giving us your credit card, essentially.
I feel like that one guy's your competitor. He just wants to know what you're offering each month. The one who's never bought.
Oh, yes. We actually looked up his address to see if it was one of our competitors. It wasn't, but maybe it's his home address. I don't know, but that was our first thought. So yeah, smart.
Great. Thank you so much, Alvaro.
Thank you.
Round of applause. It's coffee time. Come back at 4.